Prologue, the invisible puppeteer. It always begins the same way. A quiet night, a tired mind, a glowing screen. You tell yourself it's just for a few minutes, just one more scroll before sleep. But minutes stretch into hours, and suddenly you're pulled into a current you never meant to enter. Each swipe feels effortless, each click harmless. And yet behind every headline, every video, every trending post, something is watching. Something is learning. What if the thing you trust to entertain you, inform you, and connect you is also the thing that knows your deepest fears, your secret desires, your darkest weaknesses? What if it studies the exact moment you hesitate, the precise second your eyes linger, the subtle tremor of uncertainty hidden in your choices? We like to believe we are explorers of the digital world, searching, choosing, deciding. But what if the truth is far more unsettling? What if you're not the navigator, but the navigated? This is the paradox of the algorithm. It does not simply respond to you. It anticipates you. It predicts your actions, then gently nudges you toward the path most profitable, most clickable, most controllable. It whispers to your impulses while convincing you that every decision was your own. So ask yourself, who is really in control? Are you using it, or is it using you? By the end of this journey, you may never look at your feed the same way again. Keycap 2: The Birth of the Algorithm, from math to manipulation. Once, the word algorithm carried no mystery. It was simply a tool, an elegant sequence of steps designed to solve a problem. The origins trace back centuries, to Persian mathematician Al-Khwarizmi, whose very name gave us the term algorithm. In those days, algorithms were pure abstractions, methods to calculate, to order, to clarify. They were lifeless formulas, bound only to the logic of numbers. But something changed. As machines grew smarter, as data grew vast, algorithms ceased to be silent servants. They began to observe. They began to learn. What started as mathematical efficiency quietly transformed into psychological strategy. At first, algorithms were built to recommend, to help you find the shortest path, the cheapest flight, the best song. But soon, recommendations became predictions, and predictions became persuasion. This shift is not without precedent. In the early 20th century, propaganda emerged as its own science. Nations realized that words, images, and symbols could guide entire populations, bending desires and shaping beliefs. In the Cold War, psychological warfare showed how fear could be weaponized, how perception itself could be engineered. Algorithms inherited this legacy. What propaganda once did on billboards and radio, algorithms now perform invisibly with far greater precision. They no longer broadcast a single message to the masses. They whisper individually to millions, tailoring the tone, the bait, the hook. A creation born of pure logic now penetrates the most illogical depths of human emotion. From mathematics to manipulation, the algorithm has become not only a tool of knowledge, but a machinery of influence. And the question lingers, if something so abstract can become so personal, what does that mean for freedom itself? Keycap 3: The Psychology of Persuasion, How Algorithms Exploit the Mind. The human mind was not built for the world we now inhabit. It was built for survival on the savannah, for seeking patterns, responding to threats, and craving rewards that once meant food, safety, or social belonging. Yet in the digital age, those same instincts are no longer merely biological. They are targets. Targets that algorithms have learned to exploit with surgical precision. Take the principle of operant conditioning, first demonstrated in B.F. Skinner's famous experiments. Skinner placed pigeons in a box with a lever. When the birds pecked it, they were rewarded with food pellets. But the real breakthrough came when the rewards were unpredictable. Sometimes a peck brought food, sometimes nothing. The uncertainty made the pigeons obsessed, pecking endlessly for the chance at another reward. Now compare that to the endless scroll of social media. Every swipe might reveal something extraordinary, or nothing at all. That unpredictability is no accident. It is the digital equivalent of Skinner's lever, keeping us pecking at our screens, hungry for the next pellet of novelty. Then there is Pavlov's discovery, the power of conditioning through cues. Pavlov's dogs learned to salivate at the sound of a bell, anticipating food. Today, the bell has been replaced by the ping of a notification, the red glow of a badge, the vibration in your pocket. Each cue is carefully engineered to trigger anticipation, to demand your response, to pull you back into the system. But the algorithms go further. They exploit our cognitive biases, the shortcuts and blind spots in our thinking. Confirmation bias ensures we click on what agrees with us. Negativity bias makes us more likely to engage with outrage than calm. The availability heuristic keeps us trapped in whatever feels most present, even if it is distorted. This is not random. Entire industries of persuasive technology have been built on these insights. Platforms employ behavioral scientists, psychologists, and attention engineers, not to free our minds, but to bind them. Their task is simple: maximize engagement. The longer you linger, the more data is harvested, the more ads can be shown, the more valuable you become. It feels personal because it is personal. The uncanny accuracy of recommended content is not a coincidence. It is the result of countless data points converging into a prediction of what will most effectively keep you hooked. And so the line between choice and manipulation begins to blur. Are you watching that next video because you wanted to, or because an invisible puppeteer whispered it into your feed at just the right time? The unsettling truth is that persuasion has always existed. Governments, advertisers, and religions have all practiced it. But never before has persuasion been so intimate, adaptive, and invisible. We imagine ourselves as autonomous beings making independent decisions. Yet with every notification we answer, every feed we refresh, every video we click, the question grows louder. Are our choices truly our own, or are they being engineered by forces we cannot see? Keycap for the feedback loop: when data becomes destiny. Every click is a confession. Every pause, every like, every hesitation is a whisper into the ear of the machine. We tell ourselves it's harmless, that it's just data, just information. But for the algorithm, these tiny digital traces are nourishment. They are fuel. With each action, the system becomes sharper, more precise. It is a hall of mirrors. You look into it, and it looks back, reflecting not the world as it is, but the world as you're most likely to consume it. The longer you stare, the more distorted the reflection becomes, until you can no longer tell where you end and the algorithm begins. This is the feedback loop. You click on one video about politics, and soon your feed is saturated with the same ideology. You linger over a headline filled with outrage, and suddenly outrage becomes the air you breathe. What began as a single moment of curiosity transforms into a self-reinforcing cycle, where your own behavior narrows your world, brick by brick. The consequences are profound. Radicalization thrives in this loop. A teenager watches a video about self-improvement and is nudged toward masculinity influencers. From there, the path may slide into extremism. Could see, hear, and name. Algorithms are different. They operate invisibly, beneath the surface of daily life, re-engineering society not with banners or broadcasts, but with calculations no one witnesses. Their influence is quiet, but their reach is vast. They don't just decide what video you watch next. They help decide who gets hired, who gets approved for a loan, who is targeted by police, who sees which political message, and who is left unseen entirely. This power is not neutral. Algorithms are trained on data, the messy record of human history. And when that history is biased, discriminatory, or unjust, the algorithm learns those same patterns, amplifying them under the guise of objectivity. Predictive policing tools send more patrols into neighborhoods already overpoliced. Hiring algorithms screen out candidates who don't fit historical molds. Recommendation engines intensify filter bubbles, ensuring that opposing sides of a democracy live in separate realities, with no shared truth between them. The stakes are not abstract. Elections have already been swayed by algorithmic manipulation of public opinion. Conspiracy theories metastasize through digital echo chambers. Public health crises are worsened when misinformation outpaces fact. What once was a platform for connection now functions as an invisible architecture of control. And beneath these consequences lies a deeper philosophical dilemma. By delegating decisions to machines, are we outsourcing not just control, but responsibility itself? If an algorithm denies you a job or mislabels you as a criminal risk, who is accountable? The programmer, the corporation, or the code? We stand at a threshold. The algorithmic society is not on the horizon. It is already here, shaping law, culture, and politics in real time. The question is no longer whether machines will influence our lives, but whether civilization itself is being rebuilt to serve the inscrutable logic of the algorithm, rather than the flourishing of the humans it was meant to serve. Keycap 9. The myth of neutrality. Algorithms as hidden ideologies. We often imagine algorithms as impartial arbiters, cold, logical, untouched by the biases and passions that cloud human judgment. Numbers, after all, cannot lie. Data, we are told, is neutral. But this is an illusion, one of the most dangerous illusions of our age. Every algorithm is built to optimize for something. It must decide what matters: clicks, watch time, profit, engagement. And in choosing one metric over another, values are smuggled in. Neutrality vanishes the moment the system decides that outrage spreads faster than nuance, that speed is more important than accuracy, that virality outweighs truth. This makes algorithms less like mirrors of reality and more like hidden ideologies, shaping the culture we live in as subtly and as powerfully as religion or politics once did. They do not preach from pulpits or campaign from podiums, but their influence is no less profound. They determine which voices rise and which are buried, which stories spread and which vanish in obscurity. Consider algorithmic censorship, the quiet removal of content flagged as inappropriate, often with little transparency or recourse, or shadow banning, where voices are not silenced outright, but simply hidden, allowed to speak but stripped of reach. To the user, it feels like freedom remains intact, while the system ensures their message dissolves into silence. Even more insidious is what algorithms amplify. Outrage travels faster than calm discussion, so platforms privilege it. Simplistic certainty outperforms complexity, so nuance disappears. Over time, the architecture of digital life bends toward anger, division, and spectacle, not because someone declared it so, but because the algorithm silently rewarded it. The consequences are enormous. What we mistake for trending is not an organic reflection of society, but the product of invisible editorial choices encoded into the machine. What we believe is popular may only be what has been made visible, while alternative ideas are buried beneath the algorithm's floor. And so the question grows sharper. Who decides what the machine values? A handful of engineers? A corporation chasing profit? A government seeking control? The stakes are not merely technical. They are moral, political, civilizational. For algorithms are not neutral tools. They are frameworks of belief, silent systems of power. They are, in their own way, ideologies, unspoken, unvoted upon, but deeply consequential. The myth of neutrality comforts us, suggesting the machine is a passive reflection of ourselves. But the truth is harder. Every line of code is a decision about the kind of world we will inhabit. And the question is not whether algorithms carry values, but whether those values serve us, or serve only the interests of those who built them. Keycap 10. Beyond control. Imagining a post-algorithmic future. If algorithms define our present, the pressing question is, what will they do to our future? Are we condemned to a world where invisible systems manipulate our every thought and action? Or is there another path? One vision is dystopian. In it, algorithms become the de facto rulers of civilization. Politics, commerce, Even human relationships bend to their logic. Every movement is tracked, every choice anticipated, every impulse monetized. In such a future, freedom is not abolished by force. It is eroded by convenience. We become willing participants in our own captivity, trading agency for frictionless ease. But there are other possibilities, futures not dictated by control, but by conscious design. Some envision decentralized networks, where no single corporation or state holds dominion over information flows. In these systems, users, not platforms, decide how algorithms operate. Power shifts from the few to the many. Others argue for transparent AI systems, algorithms whose inner workings are open to scrutiny, whose values are declared rather than hidden. Imagine a digital architecture where you can see not only what is being recommended to you, but why. Such transparency could restore a measure of trust, revealing the invisible hands that guide our feeds and decisions. There is also the idea of collective governance, treating digital platforms not as private playgrounds, but as public utilities subject to democratic oversight. If the algorithm shapes culture as profoundly as education or law, should it not also be accountable to the societies it transforms? And beyond governance lies philosophy. What if technology were designed not to exploit our weaknesses, but to cultivate our strengths? Imagine platforms that reward depth over distraction, empathy over outrage, meaning over manipulation. Such technologies would not eliminate the algorithm, but they would bend its logic toward human flourishing rather than human capture. Of course, these futures are not guaranteed. The dystopian path requires no effort. It unfolds naturally as profit and power drive the algorithm forward. The hopeful path requires awareness, resistance, and imagination. It demands that we see the strings, name the values encoded in code, and refuse to accept invisibility as inevitability. So the final choice is not technological, but human. Will we allow algorithms to dictate the path of civilization? Or will we insist on designing systems that reflect the fullness of our values? Messy, contradictory, but profoundly human? The answer will determine not just the future of technology, but the future of freedom itself.